Monday, June 10th. Going for 8 and 9. We'll call roll.
Larry Dye,
Here.
Michelle Hinchy,
Here.
Tim Hinkle, Danny Loggins,
Here.
Michelle Manus, Jason Ragland,
Here.
Cindy Silent,
Here.
Andy Treat,
Here.
Wayne Witcher.
Here.
7 present, we have a quorum.
Wayne, say first.
Lord, we thank you for this awesome privilege that we have to come together to do the county's business, the people's business. We ask for your wisdom and your understanding as we proceed through this evening. We ask for your blessings over this this meeting. We ask for your protection over those of us who are heading home after this meeting. And we just give you thanks and praise for all the good things you're doing for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the minutes for last month. No motion approved.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We have no old business. We got new business, appropriation orders 2024-29.
I make a motion that we suspend the reading of ordinance number 2024-29 and do a title read only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Appropriation ordinance number 2024-29, being enacted by the Quorum Court of Searcy County, Arkansas. An ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to amend the 2024 annual operating budget and authorizing the county judge to administer said ordinance. Whereas the county has received funds from the Arkansas Historical Preservation in the amount of $212,917.48. Therefore, the following appropriation is approved. This is for the work on the courthouse. I make a motion to approve ordinance 2024-29.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we got appropriation ordinance 2024-30.
I make a motion that we suspend the reading of ordinance number 2024-30 and do a title read only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Appropriation ordinance 2024-30, being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Searcy, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled to amend the 2024 annual operating budget and to appropriate funds and to allow the county judge to administer said appropriation. Whereas Searcy County has received from the Arkansas Department of Finance and Administration a local law enforcement block grant in the amount of $7,400.
Make a motion to approve appropriation ordinance 2024-30.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So we got appropriation ordinance 2024-31.
I'll make a motion to suspend the reading of ordinance number 2024-31 and do a title read only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Appropriation ordinance 2024-31, been enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Searcy, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled to amend the 2024 annual operating budget and to appropriate funds and to allow the county judge to administer said appropriation. Searcy County has received from the 20th District Law Enforcement Drug Control Fund Trust for 65 CV-21-55 auction proceeds in the amount of $3,300.
I make a motion to approve appropriation ordinance 2024-31.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we got appropriation ordinance 2024-32.
I make a motion that we suspend the reading of ordinance number 2024-32 and do a title read only.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Appropriation ordinance 2024-32, being enacted by the Quorum Court in the County of Searcy, State of Arkansas, ordinance to be entitled to amend the 2024 annual operating budget and to appropriate funds and to allow the county judge to administer said appropriations. Searcy County has received from the State of Arkansas jury reimbursement for the fourth quarter of 2023, the amount of $650.
Make a motion to approve appropriation ordinance 2024-32.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we got appropriation ordinance 2024-33.
I make a motion to suspend the reading of ordinance number 2024-33 and do a title read only.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Appropriation ordinance 2024-33, being enacted by the Quorum Court in the County of Searcy, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled to amend the 2024 annual operating budget and to appropriate funds and to allow the county judge to administer said appropriation. Searcy County has received from the Department of Emergency Management for the disaster number 4441 in the amount of $19,756.40. This will go into the county road fund.
Judge, which disaster is this referring to, the latest tornado or?
No.
Back in 18 or 19?
It's in 2019, 2020, this is the final payment from it. They put it in the wrong bank and I had to ride and pick it up in Clinton. So, and I didn't know when we done this ordinance that fund number was already made. It was in dormant and on my side and we couldn't see it. So we had to make some corrections today when I did find it, so, but that's what it is, it's from 2019-20.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appropriation, I make a motion to approve appropriation ordinance 2024-33.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Anybody got anything?
Yeah, Tony, can I be recognized,
Yep.
please, just for a few minutes? I just wanted to report, I'm trying to track this, I've kind of taken this over, the ledger report, and I just wanted to report just out of caution, and just to be courteous to our members that wanted me to track this. Right now, as we're trending, it looks like we're $561,000 in the negative of Fund 1,000. I'm not saying, you know, that I don't know what's coming in the future or anything like that, I just wanna report on this. And just let everyone know, I'm sure there's tax monies that's gonna be coming in at a later date that's gonna, you know, offset this. But I know Andy was wanting to know about that and didn't wanna pass the budget last year, so.
To clarify that, there is sufficient on hand. The last report we saw was $233,000, if I recall. But this looks at, the total budget, it looks at on hand, it looks at total budget against carryover versus what is coming in year to date, and it's a simple math equation, and so therefore it is determined based off that equation what should come in each month. And I think that we should pay attention to this. The members of the budget committee believe this also, because here's what will happen. We don't know, as we're not the treasurer, we're not comptrollers, we don't have experience. There could be $400,000 or $500,000 that comes in one month, in July or August or September or October, November or December, above what's been tracking each month. But if we go along this path and we continue to trend downward or equal to where we are right now, my concern is our carryover will not be there going into 25, but that's the big budget issue is 25. Because I know that of the 26 departments that use funds out of Fund 1,000, they're not all going to expire 100% of their budget. So we're not going to need everything that was budgeted, I think. But probably not. Unless we, you know, like the jail, for example, there probably are some, I have heard Ms. Mary Beth says that there was some issue with some medical needs. The concern is going into 25, if we don't have a carryover, and I am concerned, we're concerned about that, we're gonna have a real big budget issue in the 25 budget.
not this year. And so, out of an abundance of caution and in recognition to those who were on the budget committee in '23, we made a promise that we would track this on Fund 1000, so that's we don't know what's going to happen. There could be a big tranche of money that comes in the next month or two, but just based on what we're seeing, we're not expecting that.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to throw a wolf or anything, none of us are, we just wanna keep everybody apprised as to what's going on.
Mary Beth, the on hand, I know that last report, and thank you very much for your releasing those reports, they're excellent.
Actually, I just go, Lauren, Kim Michelle.
Well, I mean, but still, yeah, you're doing a great job. The on hand was 233, is it?
We got in some tax money today, it's almost close to 300,000 now, so.
So the previous month, we received in 88,000, we need to be receiving about 150 now.
Yeah.
In fact, what we're showing that the amount that we will need per month right now is 154,000 to bring us even.
Right.
The average receipts per month right now is about 107,000. So this is all looking at what we need out of that fund against 100% of what was budgeted for Fund 1000. So I just.
We would hope the summer stuff gets higher.
We're hoping for some money to come in, because in July of last year, there was a pretty good chunk that came in.
Yeah, and that's what we.
So,
what
we're praying for that, I pray every day for that. So, and then the taxes and revenues to go in, so.
And out of respect for the treasurer's office, this is not about what they are or are not doing. They simply track receipts. And so that issue that we're discussing is about money coming in for purposes of the budget. And I think we're concerned about it enough that we really need to pay close attention in the next 3 months of going forward.
Anything else?
I do.
Jeff's got something.
Since all the elected officials in Searcy County are Republicans, I want to talk just briefly about this last weekend. Last weekend was the Republican convention in the state of Arkansas. The Griffins, Scott and Ellen were there as delegates. Justice of the Peace Witcher was there, and I was there as delegates to that convention. It was like a family get-together of a very dysfunctional family. But I wanted to the reason I wanted to say something, I wanted y'all to know as Searcy County what an outstanding job our leaders of the local Republican Party did at this conference. Ellen and Margot Herzl were our leaders at the conference, and they represented, I was so proud of how they represented Searcy County. And on many issues that came up during this conference, Searcy County had a role in leading the way for the conference to vote on issues. And so we outshined many of the larger counties. And so I was glad I was there, and I was very proud of our county as it was represented to the state convention.
It just goes to show the power of caucus, though, doesn't it?
Well, yes.
The little counties were able to caucus, and so.
And we had a voice, a big voice.
I got some. I've been asked by several fire chiefs to check in on adding the fire dues to taxes. I called Mark Whitmore, and he was supposed to send me and you and Jeff Coffin some information, but I don't know if he forgot or what. But I'm gonna contact him towards the end of the week. He hadn't sent me the information, but I think it'd be beneficial to them, because right now, I don't know, probably 20% pays the fire dues. What Mark Whitmore said, that usually they jump up to about 80% when you do that. So, I mean, if he could jump from 20% to 80%, that'd be a big help to the fire department.
Would this be a voter initiative?
Well, I think now, me and him briefly talked on the phone. maybe you gotta get a petition and get 15%, or put it on the ballot. Liza said she thought that the Quorum Court could just pass the ordinance, and I don't, until Mark sends that stuff, I mean, I really don't know. I'll have to.
Judge, may I recognize Ms. Talitha? Would you like to address?
After Justice of the Peace called me, I reached out to 4 different counties, talked with Garland County. They are the ones that mentioned the magic wand, Arkansas statute 14-285-203. In that statute, item number 3 states that the Quorum Court can, by unanimous vote, put it on the statements. It also, item 1 and 2 indicates how to do it by election measures. But that magic wand that they mentioned that they have used is a Quorum Court measure.
Is it the full quorum that has to be 100% majority?
Unanimous is what it is, the
Only
wording.
2/3, Chad.
Yeah, I'm writing, you have that statute number again, I'm writing that down.
14-285, or excuse me, 14-284-203.
284,
Yes.
okay. I'll take a look at it.
That came from the Garland County collector. She referred me to talk to Saline County. They apparently were the first ones in the state to do that, to collect fire dues on their statements. I've talked with them. They do it as a mandatory. The other counties do it as special tax, voluntary. So
So
there's
would this be
different ways to do it.
It would be on the personal property tax
Would be.
collected through the collector's office.
Mhm.
And right now, these different departments are underfunded significantly because you're only receiving 20% of the dues.
20%.
It would be a partnership. The fire chiefs would be the ones tasked with notifying the assessor's office with what their rates would be, unless there was some type of situation to where it would be across the board for everybody. I do not believe that is what we have right now among our districts. I think we've got
It's different prices.
12.
It would probably have to be the same price.
It
for every
It'll
department.
make it easier.
It would, from the assessor collector point of view, it would be simplified.
I think I heard someone yesterday tell me that in order to do a county, in order to be on the ballot for a county initiative, the petitions had to be finalized, I think by early July or some crazy time frame like that.
If you
So-
go that route, you've got a timeline.
So you would be squeezed very tightly to get that petition.
You've got a strict timeline either way you go about it. If your fire chiefs have to do it, they're going to have a certain amount of information to the assessor, so it can be assessed, so that it can go out on the statements. And at this point, we're not talking this year, it'll be next year.
So the Quorum Court, if it is an initiative from the Quorum Court, we have additional time versus a voters initiative, which would squeeze these different departments to get their petitions out within the next 6 weeks, out and to the state. So, which route would you like to go?
But I think from talking to the counties that I've spoken with, by virtue of the fact that the departments already have a known, received, acknowledged fire due on record, that magic wand would allow y'all to make the decision to put it on the statements in that box. But in doing that, the fire chiefs would still have to notify the assessor who is in their districts, so that it could be assessed appropriately. Also, the other counties that I've talked with, and I have talked with Garland, Saline, Craighead, and Van Buren. I've got calls into other counties, they've just not called me back. You bump the information provided by the fire chiefs up against the state used, and I know Gary Ragland uses it also, the GIS website, to make sure everything's double checked, triple checked, and that kind of stuff. But if everybody, like Marshall's got a $40 fire due, but I think SDM has 35.
You're
Yeah.
right, that is a question, cause I think we are taxed, maybe Carol and I was talking about this the other day, our fire dues, I think, are received without, our permission through tax for the Marshall fire protection versus the county, which I think would be different, so this would be county protection, is that correct?
Now, in Van Buren County, they do not, on their statements, they do not bill for Clinton, Shirley, Fairfield Bay, or Damascus.
Because they have municipal taxes.
So in Searcy County right now, Leslie has a sales
Is that
tax
Okay.
that
We have a
is,
mayor in the room, I'm sorry, we should have asked.
Oh, buddy.
so,
I guess the question is if the fire departments wish to have it on the ballot, you guys would have to take the initiative. If the Quorum Court wants to do it, I would suggest that somebody, do a report, have a little committee formed to report to the Quorum Court. What, cause in order for the Quorum Court to vote on it, you would have to have information. So I guess the ball would be, in your hand on this one right here, but I think I know how I vote, because it's unfair to these fire departments to be underfunded. But we still need that information.
And to be clear, it can be voluntary, like this is just a reminder, it doesn't have to be a
that's your choice,
mandatory.
that, it depends on on the decision that you make.
I mean, there'll be some that won't pay it regardless, but, you know.
So this would not be a mandatory tax.
You can make it either way.
You can make it either way.
Make it either way, yeah.
If it is a mandatory tax and it is not paid, then it will be included in delinquencies. It will prevent tagging vehicles. It'll just be your standard delinquency format.
Either way you do it, it'll be on next year's, right? I mean, it's too late to do it this year. Those tax statements are already out anyway this year.
But you have some time.
Yeah.
At the same time, to go on next year's statements are mailed the end of February. So you don't have an abundance of time.
I'm not gonna make a motion, but I would suggest that, you're fire chief in the fire department. I mean, you guys just work together and figure out which way you wanna roll. I don't think you're gonna have enough time to get petitions put out there, but.
No, right now.
So then we would wanna have a committee formed and bring a report back to the Quorum Court, maybe next Quorum Court.
Anything else?
I have something before, we move on to this new business, it's new business, but, we talked last year about the possibility of separating collector from sheriff's, from the sheriff's department.
Yes.
And when is the legislature reconvening this year, do you know?
I think Stephen told me maybe January or something, but I talked to him about it here a few weeks ago, he said he'd definitely do it.
Okay, so I was wondering if the Quorum Court would want some involvement in that, meaning that, here's the thing, you separate that out, there are going to be expenses, or maybe not, and that's just something that's gonna have to be looked at.
Well, it will be a little bit, cause, the elected official, you're gonna pay a little bit more, so. I can't say it being much more.
So when you say, he said he'd do it,
He has to,
what exactly do you mean?
He has to bring a
He
bill,
would
he has to bring a bill.
bring a bill up the next time we go through it. I think it starts in January, and I am not 100% sure that, he said they done one last year, and there's just like 2 or 3 left.
Is it gonna miss the cutoff for election,
It should,
the upcoming
it
election?
should.
Well, there's 2 years away, it would be the, midterm election is when that would happen.
Yeah, they should do. He said he'd get done plenty of times, so he acted like it wouldn't be no problem.
I think it's a good idea from what I've seen. That new office should look at ways to streamline and, you know, trim the budget, because then the Quorum Court would have to determine the budget for that office. And, you know, I don't know that it's gonna save money from what I've seen. What it will do is streamline the process, and it empowers a elected collector, did I get that right? Yeah, the collector.
Yeah.
It empowers that collector to do that job very well, because there's some issues of right fines and things that are not being swept into the collections. Okay, well I've been trying to call Mr. Walker, he's not returning my calls.
He's been, I think they're in special session or something, cause I tried to call him the other day and I couldn't get hold of him. So I called assistant, see if we can get over there.
I have something.
Yep.
Two things. First, we had discussed at the end of the last meeting about audiovisual, and I had talked about maybe some ARP funds. I am still researching that. With our current layout here, with Jerry box and then table and then you, and then the public can't hear us, visuals things. Johnny does an amazing job and I appreciate everything he does, but we still have some hiccups with the public not hearing us, hearing the video. It gets into a lot of money with this current layout, with our footprint. I've talked to other counties, saying that you don't actually have to do these meetings in this courthouse. You can have them anywhere as long as it's announced to the public. That may be something we need to look at a little more, where we are at a table, maybe a U-shaped horseshoe something, and get a better layout. I don't know where. There's several places in town that we could probably look at, or even pulling some tables back and bringing in 2 long 8-footers in here, pulling the chairs up, everybody sitting at the table, lining it up better with mics and camera visuals for the public and for us to better have audio of what our meetings were and who everybody spoke and things like that. So right now I'm still doing research, but I'm also trying to keep a budget decent and not be stupid, because you really start adding mics to a system and it starts to get really expensive, because there's only so many channels per system that it'll handle. Secondly, the question was brought up to me, they read in our local Arkansas Democrat Gazette that the city of Marshall is the one who is receiving that 1.7 million for the shirt factory. Yeah. And the question was brought up, if we still own it, or the county owns that building, is there still a tax on the books that's collected since the building of the building back whenever it was built?
If Marshall would collect taxes?
No, if the county is still collecting a tax, cause they put a tax in place when they built it. That's, you know, the county people basically built the shirt factory. Is that money still being collected? Is it still on the books? Do we know? We
You
don't
would
know.
think that there would be a sunset provision in any tax collected
There,
to
and,
support that, and
yeah.
revenues would be coming in, and I don't think we have revenues coming in supporting that.
That we know.
That I know of.
Okay.
I'm not seeing it.
Well, I know on some things they've extended them, or they've added to it, and things, some taxes don't end, they just keep kind of kicking them down the road like a can. The other question is, this is kind of more for you, I guess, but has there been an agreement or a lease or anything discussed with this gentleman?
Yeah,
this
we
company?
discussed it last.
There was a meeting last week, and the resolution issue was brought up, and it will be presented to the Quorum Court. Attached to the Quorum Court will be any stipulations resulting from the award of the grant.
Okay.
And so everyone will have plenty of time to review that and look at it.
As a matter of fact, Chad's working on the lease right now, we got the information, so.
Okay.
We had to
That's a
do
great
one
question.
through the federal grant, so.
Did I hear you say that you thought that Marshall owns the shirt factory?
No. So the Arkansas Democrat Gazette did an expose or an article on the grant stating that the city of Marshall received the $1.7 million grant, which, as we all know here in Quorum, or at least most of the public does, that it was received by Ozark Foods.
No, it's a county, it's a grant to the county to refurb the building.
Yeah.
It's not.
Then Ozark Foods will lease it after we get it.
Okay, so it's not.
All the money will come through the county.
Okay, so
We're
the
all
grant's
in charge.
not for Ozark
No.
Foods?
No.
Okay.
It's-
So there's, when you read things, I mean, it doesn't clearly,
Yeah.
it's not a cut and dry conversation that you read.
I've seen it 2 or 3 times where.
Yeah, and it's been said that it was a chamber grant, or it was, the chamber was involved in getting the grant, or,
And
you
they
know,
was on.
how many
they
people's
helped
fingers
us.
are getting, you know, just kind of where we're at with that.
When when the Quorum Court will be asked to consider that lease, there will be lots of information given to the Quorum Court attached to that lease. But the money, for sure, will be granted to the county, and the county will shepherd that, and there will be, all the laws applying to how bids are awarded, all of that stuff has to go through the judge.
Okay.
Anybody got it?
Everybody through? I'd like to recognize Mr. Patterson. You have something you want to discuss?
Thank you, members of the Quorum Court, Judge Horton as well. I'm Jerry Patterson, for the record, not here on behalf of Calf Creek Lodge number 426. That's a Masonic Lodge that's in Sowell, Arkansas. The reason that I wanted to address you all is because they have a problem. And hopefully you all will participate in correcting that problem. They have a sister lodge by the name of Campbell Lodge number 115, which, as you know, held its lodge meetings next door. A little history about that is that the Campbell Lodge number 115 was established and chartered in 1858. And it occupied that position on this square for nearly 160 years. They elected this past year to merge with Calf Creek Lodge, which meant that if Calf Creek accepted their merger, that Calf Creek would acquire ownership of its property, of the Campbell Lodge property. And in addition to that, any debts outstanding against the Campbell Lodge. They accepted that. And it seems that everything was copacetic until they had an opportunity to sell that building next door. When they did, it became obvious that the title search indicated that they could not locate the original deed that was executed sometime probably just before the Civil War. I could offer you an explanation as to why that deed is missing. And the explanation that I could give you is that in 1968, there was a horrendous fire that wiped out the entire north part of the square. You remember? Just destroyed it. All the records in that lot were destroyed, along with everything else that the Lay family had, and I believe T.P. Hubbard had a feed mill right, with a feed store right on the end. I can't be positive, but it seems like I remember that. Anyway, I did my research, and in that I searched the county records. I could not find the original deed. The abstract company could not find the original deed. And I went to the county assessor, and he could not find the copy of the original deed either. So, how to find the land description? I can tell you that the original town of Marshall, Arkansas, was not Marshall, Arkansas. It was Burroughsville. And that's the name of the city that the Campbell Lodge charter was given to, was it? But anyway, in that search I found that there were some deeds. One of them is to this building here. It was executed by Obedi Jones. So we took that land description and the partial land description that I could somewhat came up with relationship to the Campbell Lodge property, which was lot 1 and lot 2 of the original town of Marshall, Arkansas. Anyway, long story short, in order to correct the title and to show that title was vested in the Campbell Lodge and now to Camp Creek Lodge, that leaves us with this option, and that is to file a petition to quiet and confirm title. And in order to do that, it's necessary to name the parties that are adjacent to that piece of property in order to allow them to come forward if they have a claim. Now, that's part of the process. There's a way away from that part of the process by what's called a quitclaim deed, and that's why I'm here. They have asked me to speak to you and ask you all to sign a resolution that would convey to Calf Creek Lodge the description, which is Lot 1 and Lot 2 of the original town of Marshall, Arkansas. I've also talked to Jeff Jennings, and he's indicated that he's willing to do that as well. I have information I'd like to share with you. This item here is a diagram that was made by the Searcy County, or it's not the Searcy County Title Company anymore, things change. Anyway, this is their drawing, and I will hand these out to you all so you could look at those. There's enough for everybody. If there's some extras, I'll be happy to take those with me. Just to give you an orientation, you will notice that there's this odd looking shape here. That's Highway 65. So that's the north side. Now, that entire area that's enclosed in there is Lot 2 and Lot 3. Lot 1 is the southern portion of that, which is where the lodge hall is located now. You will see there that the lodge hall that I'm speaking of is in the southeast corner of Lot 2, Block 2, pardon me. And then as you move to the west, you will see what's called the Obeda Jones property, which is this property here. Then, of course, next to that is the Roten building. Next to that is the county assessor and collector's office. So that takes up the entire ownership area in Lot 2. So what we're asking to do is we're asking the Quorum Court to authorize the county judge to execute a quitclaim deed to the property that lies east of the courtroom property now. In addition to that diagram, I work with the Searcy County Title Company and the assessor to come up with the correct description, if you'll pass those out. The description here describes the lodge property that you have a diagram to, that's adjacent to the courtroom. You will notice there that this description has been made from the combination of two documents. One was a deed from Chauncey and Edith Lay, who were the title holders that conveyed eventually their other properties to Miss Jones. And also a mortgage that was held by the Small Business Administration. Those two documents together create the land description that you see above. In addition to that, I've also talked to Jeff Jennings, who bought his property from Dallas Horton, and that deed is found in deed book 202 at page 474 and 476. And also the deed from Obita Jones to Searcy County, which is found in deed book 171 at pages 122 and 23. I mentioned this because this is the way that the land description came about, and to show you and give you assurances that what we're seeking does not impinge on the deeds of any other landowner that's adjacent to their large property. Having said that, I have prepared a resolution that I would like for you to consider. And there's more than enough copies. Did you get copies of this? No. That's, and well, there's some extras on the. What's there? Oh, you got this one. Okay. And this is the resolution. This resolution goes a bit into the history of the Campbell Lodge, when it was created, where it was situated, and then it acquired its property back in sometime in the 1850s or early 1860s. They acquired that from Mr. Bratton. I can't tell you his first name, but his initials, and those initials are on the building where Radio Shack is located now. Basically, what this does is outlines all the things that I have told to you, and authorizes, if it's passed, authorizes the county judge to execute a quick claim deed to these properties to Camp Creek Lodge in Stonewall. Now, having said that, if you choose not to sign, I will be compelled to name Searcy County as a party defendant in the quiet title action that we're anticipating. We'll have to file it anyway in order for the court to consider the ownership interest of the Campbell Lodge and now that of Camp Creek Lodge. And doing that, we will present the same proof to that court as I've presented to you tonight. But if you would give that some consideration. If you have questions about what I've said and the documents that I've prepared and handed to you, I'll be happy to answer those. And if you have questions, remember I'm kind of hard of hearing, so if you have a question, say it loudly, please, to me, so I can hear it.
The organizational ordinance requires a 2/3 vote of the Quorum Court to consider anything not in our packet that we get. I would love to consider this, but the organizational ordinance requires us to do that. So I move that we consider this resolution at tonight's Quorum Court meeting. I move to consider it. Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye. Do we have to have a voice count? Unless there's any nays?
Do we have to do roll call?
You need a 2/3 vote, if it's unanimous,
I mean, there's no nays, right?
This is just a consider, just a
This is
consider.
Yeah, they
put it on for discussion. I think if there are no nays.
There's no nays?
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
I have a question. Why
Like I
would,
say, if you have questions,
I do have a question.
and you think of questions,
Why would Searcy County be a party defendant? Why would the county, is it because of the building right adjacent to that building? Is that why it would be
Yes, sir.
party dependent?
yeah, they're adjacent,
Right.
their properties are adjacent to each other. And the same way with Jeff Jennings, his properties join the north side of the back side of the lot.
So it's just to make sure that there's no encumbrances?
Yeah, it just, well, let me go a different route. If I file the action and I name Jeff Jennings and I also name Searcy County, that gives you all the opportunity to challenge the sufficiency of our petition if you choose to do so. This route is quicker, simpler, and easier, but if you choose not to approve of it, that puts me back at square one, and I'll start at that point. But I wanted to give Searcy County the same opportunity that I gave to Jeff Jennings, and that is to execute a quick claim deed so that, people will not be talking about Quorum Court and, not Quorum Court, but Searcy County's been sued by the Masons, and Jeff Jennings has been sued by the Masons. And so that's the reason for why.
So in the description, if it defines the current buildings, that by definition then becomes the boundary, would that be correct? If, like we say,
Well,
the buildings and the property underneath, the Calf Creek, is that the Calf Creek, which Mason Lodges is?
well, no, the land descriptions have
So I
got to be
under-
in meets and
understand what-
bounds,
I
is
understand
what
what
you're
you're
talking about.
I'm a
And
layman, so-
that's why they're like they are. You know, you could manufacture a description, it may not be very good, but you could say north to the big rock on the side of the Buffalo River, which is adjacent 45 feet from the Buffalo River National Bridge, or whatever you want to, but you get into a question of where the thing is located at. So that's the reason that the description was adopted by, the county assessor and also the title company.
By the Small Business Administration, because they had to have had a description for that mortgage, is that correct? The Small Business Administration, you said there was a loan on the building,
Yes.
so I'm just, good faith, just making sure that we understand that the description is legit.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you again. Thank you, Judge. Thank you.
Anybody out in the audience got anything?
We haven't voted on this resolution.
I thought we did.
No, this is just to bring the
We
resolution.
gotta say it? Did we get a second?
Chad, Mr.
Well,
Chad,
that was just to consider it, because we had to have 2/3.
Mr. Chad would like to speak.
Well, just, and Mr. Jerry, if you hang tight for a minute here. Has there been have you looked into a survey of the property?
No.
I think the intent of the resolution, the intent of the resolution is clear. The lodge is not claiming anything in addition. I think we might be able to clear some uncertainties up if there were a survey, but have you looked at that?
What, you know, Justice Witcher had a good idea, and I don't like inserting monuments, but if it's satisfactory to, the Quorum Court, and they feel like that would be essential, I know where that line is at.
Mhm.
And I could call it that, I could call it the community wall between the Lodge Hall and Searcy County Courtroom, so.
I would be good with that, because I think in a court, right, you're the expert on this, that would clearly define intent, is that correct?
I see what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that, because
Yeah.
the oak tree is gone and so is the rock.
Yeah, I mean, typically there's a cornerstone somewhere, like there's a monument somewhere on the square, I'm sure.
No.
Is there not?
The way it starts out is part of a particular footing.
Okay.
Now, I will tell you, you're right, there's a township marker down by Baker's drugstore.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I can tell you this land description fits this description that was drawn out.
Mm-hmm.
But if there is a concern about whether or not this building and the other building are overlapping or something, all I have to do is put in there the community wall between.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, so you don't think there are any stakes or, there's not a rebar in the ground marking?
I doubt it.
Okay.
I doubt it very seriously.
And I'll bet you anything that the survey's wrong anyhow. But the GPS, the satellites in the air, how many of us have seen our boundaries move by 10 or 20 or 30 feet anyhow? And so I doubt that those lines are perfectly drawn to the inch, which is what you're looking at on a party wall. So my feeling is if in the quit claim deed, it is defined as the party wall is the boundary, along with all this other information, that seems to me to be adequate, because none of us can possibly, I mean, how could we know? But that party wall we see.
Okay.
That's what I think, but I mean, I'm just simply referring to Mr. Chad, I'm just.
Well, I don't wanna overlawyer you or anything, but typically, I would advise survey. I mean, that's
Sure. The problem is they don't have the funds to do the survey.
And that happens a lot of times, and we
Yeah.
just do the best we can. So my advice to the county is to require a survey, but you move forward as you want to move forward, so. It's the same advice I give every single time they ever walk in my door. So if someone's asking for property, require a survey. I understand it's a reasonable request, and I think the intent is clear that they're trying to get their property and their property only. Just, my advice would be to get a survey, but I understand, sometimes it's cost prohibitive, so.
Can we therefore, bring this up at the next Quorum Court meeting and give us a chance to think about it? Because, it would be very hard for the Quorum Court to reject the advice of the county's lawyer to the Quorum Court. That's a tough one. Do you have a time limit on this, if it waited 30 days or something?
Just switcher, I don't have a time, I do in a way have a timeline because the buyer would like to get to the property as soon as he can.
Okay, so you have a buyer.
I'm not gonna impose that as a critical comment. I'm just saying that, they've been patient up to this point, and I'm sure that they'll be patient with any additional time that's necessary. But, that's about all I can say.
Well, the truth is, we're not gonna bulldoze a party wall and remove it, so there would have to be quick claims if there was a problem with the survey, because, right, it's adverse possession, is that correct? If buildings have been on another property line because the survey was wrong over 150 years, so it would be fixable.
Well,
I'm just kind of addressing the Quorum Court with that.
The problem with a quit claim deed is it is just what it is. You are quit claiming, you're disclaiming any claim whatsoever to the described property. So adverse possession, it kind of fixes adverse possession. So if there's an issue with the legal description, the quit claim deed is gonna transfer that interest one way or another.
Okay.
I am.
And along with what Chad said, if I decided that I wanted to sell you a piece of the Brooklyn Bridge and you decided to buy it, and I gave you a quitclaim deed for it, of course I don't own any of the Brooklyn Bridge. That's all you got. Whatever I had is what you have. If you don't have anything, you don't get anything. That's a quitclaim deed.
Is the buyer financing the building? Or are they?
Is there bank financing involved?
Yes, it will be.
Well, then
And you know,
will the bank require a survey?
I don't know if they will or not, I doubt it. Well, what they will do is they will require title insurance. And the title company may say, we want it surveyed. I don't know if they will or not, because they have worked with me to get this description anyway, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah. But that process, unless you bought and sold property lately, you'll find that all finance companies want a policy of title insurance to insure them against any defects in the property title and description.
Judge, how do you advise as presiding officer?
You could table it till next month, write up the resolution, how you want it rid of.
Oh, it would not be reworded any way at all. It was just, it's tough with the counsel of the court's, lawyer. I mean.
It might be that if you determine that the title company is gonna write a policy based on this description, I'm not gonna have a lot of concerns at that point. Like, if they're ready to write title insurance based on the description that they've figured out, and the only thing that's standing in the way is Searcy County signing off on it, then I'm not gonna have any issues at that point, because clearly you've had everyone look at it, and they're insured title on that description, so I think they're gonna be satisfied at that point. So that kind of fixes all the problems. I'm kind of, if I had to guess, I would say you might have a requirement for a survey anyway, coming from the bank, but I don't know.
So what is your advice? Do we move to approve the resolution with the motion, with the facts that he has to provide title insurance?
I think you can probably pass this resolution and maybe amend it so that, you're not kind of holding things up between now and the next month's meeting, that the intent is to transfer the property, but that we confirm title and a proper legal description. And you can leave that to the county judges, that he'll work through my committee to determine that that's proper. That might be one way to do it, so that you're not the only thing holding up this transfer.
So in order to,
Does that make sense, Jeremy?
in order to.
I would encourage you, just to satisfy that question, is to use this community wall as part of that description.
I think that would probably fix some things.
So in order to modify this resolution, you would have to write something up for us to amend the resolution with real quick, so that, I mean, if we want to do it proper, I mean, we could pass it with, Chad, amending it later, but I don't think that's proper.
Yeah. So I think, what's gonna happen between now and the next meeting? Are you gonna lose a sale because of this, or?
No, I won't lose this.
Can we come back in July and have this done?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I'd rather, and again, I think the intent is clear, and I think everyone's on the same page on that. I'd just rather make sure we have it done correctly.
Sure. I have no problem.
And I'll work with you to get that done, okay?
Okay.
Very good. Well, I move that, we hold this off to the next meeting with, Chad Brown writing up a addendum to this resolution and resubmitting the resolution with the addendum to state, property insurance, and also to use the walls as the markers.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll submit it to you.
Leave the table that. Anybody got anything? Danny, here.
Make a motion, will you, John?
All in favor?
Thank you.